What's up, Ronin Renegades, and welcome back. I am Lupine Fiasco, this is Daily FaB Gameplay, and we're going to watch a Dorinthea game today. I know I brought you Dory recently, but I'm cleaning out the backlog, and we are using the Emberblade Pouncing List dedicated deck. No Kodachis, we aren't running momentum here, so it's at least something a little different than what I showed you most recently. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're new to the channel, then welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I've played on Talishar days or weeks ago after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles while giving my thought process for the lines that I would take and compare that to the line that I did take at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns, with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like ProQuests, Road to Nationals, maybe a Battle Hardened someday, but most importantly, we walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you want to check out the list that I'm running today, a FaB deck link is available in the video description below. And while you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. If you want to go above and beyond, then the best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you daily FaB gameplay Discord access. There's a lot of fun conversation happening in there. A DFG Patreon subscription could get your name featured in every DFG video. You could get a bonus episode of DFG every week. There are more great benefits to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Let's talk about our sideboard and our game plan. As I mentioned, we are using the battle-hardened Hanover list in this video. I have since updated my personal Emberblade list, but for this video, it's out of date, so we're going to look at something new. The sideboard plan here, regardless of whether we win or lose the die roll, is the same. Now, we did lose the die roll. We will be going first in this matchup, which puts us at a big disadvantage. We would like to go second into Dorinthea if possible, but we aren't going to adjust our plan, and that plan involves Mask of the Pouncing Lynx as opposed to Mask of Momentum, with the idea being that we just want to hit Dory real hard until she dies. We are looking to set up a Spreading Flames or Art of War, Salt the Wound, or Lava Burst turn, and as soon as Dory does not force us to block, and we also have a really good hand, we are going to fire off that Pouncing Lynx for big damage. Warrior does not deal arcane damage, so we don't need our Spell Void or our Arcane Barrier. The list that I'm using has us playing 63 cards into Dorinthea, so that's what we're going to do here. We are just going to add our Sink Belows rather than cut anything. For my personal list, I'm not sure if I like that. I have a temptation to cut 2 Flamecall Awakenings and a Phoenix Flame in this matchup. We get rid of a non-block in the deck, and with only 1 Phoenix Flame, Flamecall Awakening becomes a pretty bad card. It also puts us at 60 cards so that we're more likely to see our Sink Belows and our Warmonger's Diplomacies. At the same time, Decimator Great Axe Dory is a thing. It is more of a fatigue style of deck, and having a second Phoenix Flame in the deck is great anti-fatigue protection when we aren't on Kodachis. So it's going to take a little more testing. Decimator Great Axe Dory is certainly not as popular as her Dawnblade cousin. I don't think it's really something we need to worry about, but it is worth considering. I talked about a Warmonger's Diplomacy. It's a great card in this matchup. Try to play it when you can. If you need to pitch it to make a turn happen, you can, but Warmonger's really shuts down Dory. Her biggest turns depend on a mix of non-attack actions and attacking with the Dawnblade. So Warmongers can turn a 5-card hand into 3 or 4 damage at best. That has a hard time keeping counters on the Dawnblade. It's a great way to take tempo back if you're behind. The overall matchup here is just to throw more damage at Dori than she can deal to us. If we draw into a junky hand with a bunch of 3 blocks and sink belows, we can try to reset the Dawnblade to keep counters off of it. Success in this matchup really depends on keeping counters off of the Dawnblade. I haven't had a ton of success personally racing Dori, going full no blocking. We would have to draw very specific hands to make that good, and by specific I mean we would need to high roll Dori really hard to beat the Dawnblade plus reactions and go again and all of that. So overall we are going to do some blocking. We'll see a bit of that in this game. So let's just jump into it. We draw into a really weird opening hand where a blue, Spreading Flames, Art of War, Sink Below are all really good cards independently, but really bad together. Sink Below kind of makes this hand weird, where ideally we are passing the turn, arsenaling an Art of War, drawing a new card. If the Sink Below is an attack reaction, we get a 5-card Art of War on our second turn. It's unlikely that Dori is going to do anything to make us block. And we get to fire off 20 to 30 damage on turn 2. But with Sink Below, we only have a 4-card Art of War hand. And a 4-card Art of War is a lot less powerful than a 5-card Art of War once we throw Pouncing Lynx and Salt the Wound into the mix. So I don't want to attack with this hand. It is unlikely that we're going to leak any damage over the top of Dori's blocks. And I don't even really know what I'm pitching. I could play Spreading Flames and pitch the blue, follow up with Emberblade, then pitch Sink Below to FaB to play a Phoenix Flame. But all 3 of those attacks get blocked. Dori takes no damage. We arsenal an Art of War and have the potential to not draw into a blue on our next hand, which makes Art of War a lot worse. So it's a really clunky hand. I am incentivized here not to attack, just pass the turn and arsenal the Sink Below to play around Ironsong Determination. But what I think I would rather do is pitch Spreading Flames and Sink Below to attack with the Emberblade and then arsenal Art of War. So if we didn't have the Art of War in hand here, if the Art of War was in arsenal and we draw into another attack, we've got a really good looking hand. As it is, we are pretty resilient against anything Dori can do. She doesn't open with a Steelblade Supremacy or a Glistening Steelblade, so we just won't block. Glint here is going to give the Dawnblade go again, but because we didn't block from hand, there is no reprise effect. There is a line here where we could block with Sink Below from Arsenal and force Dori to have a 1-cost 3-power attack reaction. That's pretty likely that she does have that, so we aren't going to. With her using Brave Forge Bracers and attacking with the Dawnblade again, now there is a reason to sink. Again, I don't think it's a good enough reason. What we would want to do by sinking here is force Dori to have a 1-for-3 attack reaction, but she would need to use both of her cards from hand to do it. She would need to pitch one of the cards to play an Out for Blood or a Puncture or any of her 1-for-3s. Because the Sink Below is coming from Arsenal, not from hand, so she can't Iron Song Response. There would be no reprise effect. I don't think it's worth it. I think we just take 4 here. We go to 33. We let the Dawnblade get a counter, and we just 4-card Art of War. What I would like to do is play the Art of War, pitch the Lava Vein Loyalty, and banish Rising Resentment. Now, I understand why I didn't do that. Art of War plus Spreading Flames can be a little awkward. The 2 cards together cost 2. If we're pitching a blue to pay for them, we only have 1 floating resource and therefore can't attack with Emberblade. But I think that's just something I need to let go. Spreading Flames, Art of War is a very powerful combination of cards. If we draw into 2 0-for-3 head jabs, yeah, we can't Emberblade, but we can use our floating resource to pick up and play our Phoenix Flame on link 3, which then gives our second Draconic head jab an extra point of power. I think overall, the upside of Spreading Flames Art of War is much better than not playing the Spreading Flames. If we draw a Flame Call Awakening off of this Art of War with the Spreading Flames, the value is great. Overall, I have a hang-up with Spreading Flames Art of War, but I need to just get over it. If we did have a Spreading Flames on the chain here, we would have one resource floating. We could Ronin Renegade, follow that with Cinderskin Determination for 4. That gets followed up by Phoenix Flame for 4. If we wanted to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, we could, but because we led with a Rising Resentment, our Cinderskin and our Phoenix Flame only come in for 3, and we end our turn with a floating resource. So you see what I'm saying, that the upside of Spreading Flames, even without Emberblade, is just that much better than trying to keep a resource available for Emberblade. We draw into another Art of War here, which is cool. We draw into a blue to pay for it, a Phoenix Flame that we can banish, but our Dory plays Glistening Steelblade. So we do want to block. The Dawnblade already has a counter. I really don't want to let it get 3 more. This subpar 4-card Art of War is not worth it. So we can think instead about how to block the Dawnblade, playing around the worst possible scenario. Dory has 1 resource floating, a card in arsenal, and a card in hand. So the worst case scenario for us is Iron Song Response from hand or arsenal, Singing Steelblade to find a second Iron Song Response, and then that Iron Song Response. It's a total of 7 more power for the Dawnblade, so we need to block 11 if we want to cover this, which we can do with Lava Vein Loyalty, Brand with Cinderclaw, Flamescale Furnace, and Sink Below from Arsenal. So we'll block with our Lava Vein Loyalty, our Brand, and our Furnace, and force Dory to have it. I suppose the actual worst case outcome here is Twinning Blade, but Twinning Blade is just such a hard card to play around. Depending on what else is in Dory's hand, let's say she had the Iron Song Response and a Twinning Blade. If we anticipate the Iron Song Response, but no Singing Steelblade, this is only 7, so sure, we could put 3 in front of it from Lava Vein Loyalty, and have our Sink Below ready to cover the 7, but what if it is Singing Steelblade? Or what if it is just Iron Song Response and a 1 for 3? Well, now we don't have a way to cover it. So I've been asked in the past, how do you play around Twinning Blade? How do you set up the worst case scenario when the actual worst case scenario is plus power and Twinning Blade? And the answer is you don't. You can't. You need to have a very specific hand to block around both Singing Steelblade and Twinning Blade. And this hand with an Art of War and a Phoenix Flame isn't doing it. So we are going to play around what is more likely, which is attack reactions to increase the power rather than twinning. And if Dory has Twinning Blade, it sucks to suck, I guess. So we block 7. We are hoping that our Dory is going to give us a reason to play our Sink Below. She doesn't, which is kind of unfortunate, honestly. We really would have liked to get this Sink out of Arsenal and sink our Phoenix Flame to try and draw into something better. As it is, we could attack with the Phoenix Flame for 0 just to get it out of our hand and into our graveyard. Then keep our Sink Below in Arsenal, our Art of War in hand, and look to throw another 4-card Art of War. But with 2 Flame Call Awakenings still in our deck, I'd rather have this Phoenix Flame back in the deck, so what I'm going to do instead looks a little strange, but I am going to pitch it and Art of War to Emberblade for 3. We just want to filter this Phoenix Flame out of our hand. And Art of War, without the use of our arsenal, is still just kind of not as exciting as I want it to be. So we're going to get these both out of hand. We'll redraw and see what we can make happen. We draw the Flamecall Awakening, so already I feel very good about the line we just took. Dori is going to break her Courage to play a Warrior's Valor and a Steelblade Supremacy. We really don't want this Dawnblade to hit. It hitting gives it go again. It draws Dori an extra card. She already has a card in hand and a card in arsenal. This could be a really big turn from Dori, and while we do have the life buffer to take damage, and Dawnblade doesn't currently have counters on it, this game could easily snowball. And what are we doing with this hand if we don't block Dawnblade? We pitch our Salt to Mounting Anger, Flamecall Awakening, Phoenix Flame, Snatch. It's a lot of damage. It's 14 damage from a 4-card hand, but that is just slightly above rate. We can't use the draw trigger from Snatch because we still have a Sink Below in Arsenal. So this hand is good. I would like to attack with this hand if I could, but it isn't like, dang, this is the hand that we take a bunch of damage for. So what I'm going to do instead is play around, again, the worst case scenario that isn't Twinning Blade. We're going to block around Singing Steel Blade, Iron Song Response. That makes this Dawnblade 13 power if it is the worst case scenario, but we can block that with 9 from hand and our Sink Below. We're just going to put our entire hand in front of this Dawnblade. I thought originally about blocking with Shuko instead of Snatch, but I don't want to lose Shuko this early, and if Dori doesn't make us use our Sink Below, then keeping Snatch is terrible, and Dori, in fact, does not let us use the Sink Below. She gets the Iron Song Response out of Arsenal just to stick something else in Arsenal. So I feel good about that turn cycle and that decision making. Dori coming with another Warrior's Valor. We can see that she pitched her defense reaction Destroyer. The name escapes me, but the fact that she's pitching it instead of playing it, when this card has been in our arsenal forever, I have to assume that she is putting us on Sink Below here. Now, it could be Art of War. She could think that we drew and arsenaled another Art of War rather than a D-React. But it's been 3 turns now that this card has been in our arsenal. I feel like playing the card to destroy our Sink is a better line than pitching it, which makes me think that if she's going to pay 1 for the Dawnblade, maybe 2 for the Dawnblade if it hits the first time and gains go again, that she has a hand of all reds, that she can't afford to pitch a second blue. She doesn't have a second blue to play. She can't afford to play this. So if we are putting her on a hand of 1 cost red attack reactions, it makes me really not want to block this Dawnblade. If she can put together 6 more power here with 2 1-for-3s, we have to give our entire hand to stop the Dawnblade. And this hand is really strong. So this is where we aren't looking down a Steelblade Supremacy or a Glistening Steelblade, and we're going to crack in for a lot of damage. This is where we're going to leverage our life advantage and just take hits. Dori uses the Brave Forge Bracers and does pitch another blue. So I'm not sure what's happening. I would have thought try to clear the Sink Below out of Arsenal. But as it is, if she's not going to do it, then all the better for us. We're going to take a line here where we just play our entire hand. I did edit out a part of this video where I started with Brand with Cinderclaw, intending to attack with Rising Resentment and try to get the cost discount on Spreading Flames, but I'm choosing a different line here, which I think is correct. So what I'm looking to do with this turn is set up Brand with Cinderclaw, Salt the Wound. Normally we get our third hit, we grab Salt the Wound because we know that its damage is now equal to Lava Burst, and Lava Burst is easier to trigger in the late game. It's easier to get a Ruptured Lava Burst than a big damage Salt the Wound when our opponent is blocking from hand. But Spreading Flames changes the math. So what we do instead is we attack with Brand with Cinderclaw. That makes our Salt the Wound Draconic, so Salt is going to get the power from 4 hits on the chain, plus Shuko, plus Spreading Flames, so this is now an 8 power Salt, as opposed to a 7 power Lava Burst. Draw into not a great hand, honestly. It's good enough. Lava Burst with Shuko is going to make this hand pretty good. What is Dory doing instead? Dawnblade for 6, Dawnblade for 5. We could take 11 here and go to 12 if we just keep this hand and attack with it. We lead with our Brand with Cinderclaw, follow with Ravenous Rabble, Phoenix Flame, Lava Burst. That is a total of 13 damage, if my math is correct. The problem with it is Dory has armor, so she could give us a card from hand and just 1 piece of armor to stay alive, and now the Dawnblade has 2 counters on it and Dory has a 4-card hand. So what I would like to do instead is some blocking. Now, Dory still has 1 resource floating and 1 card in hand, as well as Arsenal. So I don't want to block here. If we block on the Dawnblade's second attack, then we don't reset it, we don't get this counter off of it, but we make sure it doesn't get a second counter. And we're keeping ourselves healthy so that if Dory does blocking, then she can't threaten to kill us on her next turn. Dawnblade here for 5. Again, not destroying our Sink Below in Arsenal. What we're going to do is block this with Furnace and Sink Below. From Arsenal, we'll block for 5. We'll make Dory have something that isn't Iron Song Response, because we aren't letting her get the reprise effect. Now, it may even be better to block with Shuko and Sink Below so that Singing Steelblade doesn't get over the top of our blocks with its +1 power. But I do want Shuko, I would like to keep it, so we are going to just block 5 here. I do think in hindsight blocking for 6 with Shuko would be better, but I understand wanting to keep it. We play our Sink Below. In hindsight, I think that keeping this Phoenix Flame is actually not the worst decision. I am going to sink it with Sink Below, and there's a lot of upside to doing that. If we drew into any red 0 for 3 Draconic Starter, or a Mounting Anger, or a Spreading Flames, then this decision is really good. As it is, we draw into a Snatch, and we're going to need to use our Snapdragon Scalers. We see the card Dory was sitting on is Rout, so the Rout won't have its reprise effect. We did not block from hand, but it will get +3 power over the top of our blocks anyway, and the Dawnblade gets a counter. We can see why Dory was keeping these 2 blues and pitching both of them. She wanted the 2 resources available for Rout. I still think it was not a great decision, and that destroying our arsenal is just much better than having Rout, but I'm not a Dory player. I can't confirm that that is the correct line. So we need to get to 4 chain links with our lava burst so we can trigger the rupture. We're not going to pitch this brand with Cinderclaw because, unfortunately, we don't have a Draconic Link to get the Emberblade go again. What we're going to do instead is just play brand, follow with Ravenous Rabble, then Snatch, then Lava Burst. And the reason we are leading with Rabble and not Snatch is we want to bait Dorinthea into blocking Ravenous Rabble. It would be really cool to send Snatch first, just to see what our hand looks like. Ravenous Rabble does let us cheat that a bit, as we see what the top card of our deck is, so we know what our hand is going to look like. We also know that Dory knows what our hand is going to look like, so she's going to commit a lot to blocking this Snatch. We have the Lava Burst naturally. Dory is going to say no blocks. She will take 6 here. And with Lava Burst being our 3rd Draconic Link, we can pick up an arsenal of Phoenix Flame. We draw into a weird looking hand here. Another combination of cards that look really good individually, but not great together. I'm checking my discard here to make sure that I don't have a Phoenix Flame available, because how I block this turn depends a lot on whether I have that flame. What I would like to do if I had a second Phoenix Flame is block with a Sync Blow. That's the question here. Am I blocking with Sync? Because what I can do without a Phoenix Flame is pitch Art of War for Spreading Flames, follow that with Searing Emberblade, then Phoenix Flame, and finally Lava Burst. But I need all of these cards to do it. I can't block with Sync below. Now, if I had a Phoenix Flame in discard, I could block with Sync. But I don't, so I can't. So the question here is, with this 5-power Dawnblade, the worst case scenario is that Dory has a Singing Steel Blade in hand. It finds a 1-for-3. So the most damage this Dawnblade is dealing this turn is 9. To cover 9, we block with Shuko, Lava Burst, and Sink Below. But if we do that, then our turn is play Spreading Flames, pitch Art of War, play Phoenix Flame, pass. We get a card from Dory to block the Spreading Flames. She blocks Phoenix Flame with the back half of Braveforge Bracers and goes to 1. And then that's it for our turn. And maybe Dory can put something together with a 3-card hand. Also, blocking exactly 9 is bad if Dory plays Puncture, because we blocked with Armor. Singing Steelblade finds Puncture, gets the Dawnblade up to 10. We take 1 point of damage, we don't clear the Dawnblade, and we spend a lot of resources to fail. So what we can do instead is not block at all. We take all of this damage. We take 5 from the Dawnblade. Dory uses Refraction Bolters to give it go again, pays either Braveforge Bracers or card from hand, and attacks with Dawnblade. The first attack is 5. That takes us to 9. The absolute worst case scenario after that is Dawnblade for 8. It is pay 1 resource for Dawnblade, play a 1-for-3 from hand. We go to 1, but after going to 1, we very likely kill Dory. We Spreading Flames for 3, Emberblade for 3, Phoenix Flame for 2, Lava Burst for 7, and I do not believe that Dory can cover that. So I'm doing the math here. You can see me hesitate on how to block this. I'm going to undo block in a minute. We are going to take this damage. We have the Sink Below available. If Dory somehow has something that I'm forgetting about that changes the math and does 1 more point of damage, we can block with Sink Below and our turn changes a bit. Then we send Spreading Flames for 3, Phoenix Flame for 2, Lava Burst for 4. But Dory doesn't do that. She doesn't have a way to get the Dawnblade up to lethal. So we are going to play the turn as described. Spreading Flames for 3, Ember Blade for 3, Phoenix Flame for 2, Lava Burst for 7. With that damage, Dory needs to give us her entire hand and a defense reaction from Arsenal to not die. And while we didn't kill her, she also has no resources available to attack with the Dawnblade, which resets it. And we have a 4-card hand to deal 1 damage. Based on what Dory's blocking with, she does not have the D-React, and we are going to pick up the win. So an interesting game. This is my first time in possibly forever, but definitely a long time, if not forever, running Pouncing Links into Dory. It's just a solid card. Momentum forces Dory to block until it doesn't, until she has the nuts and decides to take the damage. Sometimes Mounting Anger draws Lava Burst or Salt the Wound, and it's really good. Sometimes Mask of Momentum draws blue Brand with Cinderclaw or blue Cinderskin Devotion, and it's really bad. But Mask of the Pouncing Links always draws Salt the Wound or Lava Burst, and we saw how strong it was this game. It was worth 8 points of damage, as opposed to Mask of Momentum, which is maybe 5 on average between the card it drew and the 2 points of block value. And 8 points of damage translated really well into a win. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. I hope this emboldened you to try Emberblade Pouncing Links in your games. I will be doing it much more often in mine. If you did like this video, head jet that like button for me. My comments are always open for any comments, questions, or feedback. And I will be back tomorrow with more daily FaB gameplay. So until then, take care.